Hello guys, and welcome to a new WARNO video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I have for you game 1 of a best of 3 between Mandoz and YukiPaw in the semi-finals of the WARNO League Super Tournament, ran by the Simulated Divisions League. On our left today in the red team we have Mandoz using the 79th Guards Tank Division, and on our right in the blue team we have YukiPaw using the 8th US Infantry Division. So there is a lot to play for in this tournament. 24 players started. We are coming in here at the semi-finals to watch the last 4 players duke it out for a piece of the prize pool, which was $330 in total. First place gets $166, second place gets $83, and third and fourth place will both get $41. So yeah, there are prizes on the line, and I'm hoping that over time with the meta shifting and WARNO 1.0 coming out, we're going to get some excellent games to watch today. I am super excited about what we're going to see, and hopefully you guys are too. If you're new to the channel, then yeah, welcome to Casting Vulcan. Alright, Mandoz on the left hand side here. Let's have a quick look at what he's getting down. He's got a BMP2 with the Motorazvidka. I really like this combination. The BMP2 Recon is really handy because it can fight by itself quite efficiently, very similar to the Bradleys on the NATO side. It's going to be having a Spetsnaz GRU there, another BMP2 with the Motorazvedka, OSA AKM further back heading towards the center of the map early on. It's got a UAZ KPV with the Razvedka. Further behind that is going to be an Igla and a BRDM command unit. A BMP2 with a Motostrauki that's going to be heading towards November, and we've got the UAZ with the Razvedka on the bottom side as well. So here at the start, Mandoz really just trying to get a really nice forward position with all of this recon and forward deployment units. It's going to be very similar on the side of YukiPaw, as YukiPaw is opting to go for scouts as his forward deployment with the TOW 2 behind in the M13 and a mechanized rifle with Dragon. We've got the M3A1 Bradley CFV followed up by a TOW 2, another scout unit, another 2 further down, followed up by multiple mechanized rifles with Dragons and the mechanized rifles with the Law, and an M151 CP as well. 2 of those at the start. He's looking for the caps early on. Another scout on the bottom side there as well. Now the deployments aren't completely finished, but it gives me a little bit of time to talk about the map as a whole. Hesse has gone through a couple of iterations. We had the original Hesse map, which was made for team games, and then they introduced the Hesse Duel map, which changed the sectors quite significantly and kind of makes this map very large for a 1v1. You have like this area in the middle of these 6 points, and then you have a very large area around the edge, which really opens up flanking attempts for helicopters and just like recon vehicles moving down the flanks and so on. So that's why you see so much recon and forward deployment from both players at the start of the game, because they're really trying to keep an eye on all of the corridors across the map. But we are underway, and yeah, YukiPaw coming out with the double CV at the start will certainly put him into a little bit of an advantage here, because the BRDM2U on its own will take longer to capture all of his sectors. Now the 50-50 is going to be roughly here, and we're going to have to see who draws first blood, as Mandoz does invest into an Su-25 and 2 MiG-29s at the start of the game, so we're going to be watching them as they escort the Su-25 into position. The BMP2 has spotted the M151 with the scouts, and the BMP2 does the job before the Su-25 is even needed. So an interesting choice of the 79th Guards on this map. 79th Guards are generally known as a more tank-favoured division. On a urban map, that might not seem something that is good, but with Hesse Duel you do also have this more open area on the top side where tanks can be extremely useful, especially across the railway line in the center here. So this big old railway that goes all the way through the center of this map. Really cool. Looks like YukiPaw saved up to bring up 2 F-16s here. trying to have a go at the Su-25 as it comes in for that tow too. The Su-25 getting a really good kill there actually onto the tow too, but the F-16s trading 1 for 1 against the MiG-29s, but YukiPaw now bringing in a third F-16, going for the kill onto the MiG-29 and does manage to find it. So 2 MiG-29s down. F-16s now coming around for the kill onto the Su-25. That Su-25 in a bad position as the F-16's coming round once again. Will be able to get its gun on target. Will the Su-25 go down in time? It does, but we do also see a trade for the second F-16 by the OSA. Now 2 Cubs coming in from the spawn. Mandoz wants to get another one back. Make sure that YukiPaw has no more F-16s left to counter his aircraft. But that is going to get away. What an exciting start to this one as we see the air engagements go in full force. Wrecks left across the board. I'm not really sure who came out on top. I think YukiPaw getting away with that F-16 leaves him just ahead, since Mandoz investing into those 2 Cubs to find that kill did not pay off, which is going to leave him a little bit light on the front line. All the while, YukiPaw has been moving up with his mechanized rifles to engage Mandoz on the bottom side here, trying to get close enough to November to start getting the command up. And you can see that the M151 CP is going to be coming up to not only capture this sector, but most likely be used to provide vehemency onto this infantry as it starts to engage Mandoz's forces. On the top side, the mechanized rifles are engaging with the motorazvedka, and they will win over time if there is no units helping out. It looks like Mandoz trying to get his BMP-2 into line of sight maybe to help out with that engagement, because the motorazvedka do not want to continue in that position, especially with the M113s coming up there and providing their 50 cal fire support. But on the bottom side, here we go, the motostrelki coming under a lot of fire. This is a lot of guns on target. That's 16 M16s and 6 M249s engaging that single motostrelki squad. The third squad now getting involved as well. And the radius of this leader is making these be even more effective in this situation. So currently YukiPaw sitting on the +1, as he did manage to capture all of his sectors before Mandoz. So that has left him with this 164-point lead that now forces Mandoz to push back against. And on Hesse Duel, the sort of distance between the sectors is quite large. So you've got a long way to go if you want to try and contest sectors in this map, and therefore making sure that you get access to these sectors early on by capping them early on, like YukiPaw did with the double CP, is super important. The mechanized rifle here did manage to finish off the BMP-2 on the top side. Also, the motorazvedka has gone down, so he's going to lack information there, Mandoz, on the top side to use this Su-25 effectively that he's now brought in to help support. And maybe this was the main part of his strategy, using the Su-25 to harass the infantry of YukiPaw throughout the game and back himself up with adequate AA. I mean, there is 3 radar AA pieces here, 2 Cubs, 1 OSA. It's quite substantial. Meanwhile, YukiPaw is investing heavily into the bottom side. The M1A1 Abrams now moving up. The scouts have found the razvedka. The razvedka are in cover, so they will have the advantage in that case. BMP-2 trying to smoke itself off and retreat, but was facing the wrong way. And the M1A1 cleans that out. Scouts looking to do a run at. Tow 2 on its way. Plus a PVADS to help shut down the Su-25 if it looks for a strafing run onto the M1A1. So the mechanized rifles taking full control of the sector, and it's an incredibly dangerous position for Mandoz to be in, as getting through these buildings is going to take a lot of time. Even using units like Sapari RPO up against mechanized rifles where they have 11 men per squad, it's going to take time, and you're going to want to have plenty of supply, that is resupplying the RPO launcher, which is a napalm launcher, so that you can continue the DPS on those targets, because without the RPO launcher, there's a party, they're not going to be doing that great against the mechanized rifles. So Su-25 still looking for targets. Motorazvedka, motostrelki moving up. Looked like the Su-25 briefly had line of sight on the scouts. Oh, on the bottom side, no, massive mistake. by Mandoz, allowing both of the BTR-60s to get ambushed on the road here. And the Sapari RPO inside going down to that M72 Law. Huge kills, actually, for YukiPaw, as that was the initial forces to counterattack on this bottom side for Mandoz, and it's only going to slow down the retaliation significantly. AH-1F Cobra coming up, though. Very dangerous position to have that in, as there is no AA to support it, and an Su-25 hanging out in the sky. The 30mm could rip that apart. Motorradvedka and Motostragi have found the hole in the defense with the help of the Spetsnaz GRU, though. And he is getting closer to Lima, so there could be a chance here where Mandoz no longer has to really focus on November and instead kind of focuses on the center of the map at Lima. With the Tow Cobra trying to get in his position to get rockets on target, but the Su-25 coming in. That 30mm doing plenty of damage, but not quite enough. The Osa, however, finishing things off. Oh, the Ihawk coming in just in time, and with a missile from the F-16 to help. Gets the job done. Will the Cubs land on target? Neither does. So a nice kill for YukiPaw once again, getting actually really quite far ahead in this game. Not only in kills, but also in ground taken. The conquest point on the bottom side there, under full control of YukiPaw for the time being, but also the BRDM-2U taken out by YukiPaw's M3A1 Bradley on the top side. Really, really nicely done. Using that Bradley to great effect. The other thing that I think, honestly, Mandoz has to be careful of here is the M3A1 coming across and engaging the Sapari RPO. They are going to be very vulnerable on their own versus the Bradley. They won't be able to have any action in killing that, like anything to attack it. The T-80BV is really going to have to be the savior here, and does manage to do so. So the T-80BV getting a good kill in. On the bottom side, the BMP-2 went down. Motostraki have managed to survive, so that's good. I mean, yes, they're only on 1 health, which means it didn't really have a good engagement. But at the end of the day, keeping these low health squads alive is super important over time, because it allows you to replenish them with supply. And then you can get really good value out of them over time. Or the M1A1 Abrams here, managing to smoke just in time, as the unit does back off. MiG-23 coming in for the Tow Cobra on the bottom. Yuki keeps investing into these helicopters, and they are always vulnerable. I think he was just in time getting the Ihawk in on the top side, but on the bottom side, that was vulnerable for a little while there. It was lucky that the MiG missed its infrared missile, otherwise the Tow Cobra likely would have gone down. Now the Wild Weasel and F-16 hanging out together. Mandoz going to have to be careful with his radar AA, as that will get taken out by the Seed missiles. So the Shrike ready to pounce, and those Cubs could be the next target. Meanwhile, however, the mechanized rifles have held strong. Actually took out the Punamachiki. M35 supply on its way. I'm not sure if that's just going to be for the mortar here, or if he's actually going to try and get that into position. Oh, he has already got one here. So these mechanized rifles could fall back and try and get fixed up, potentially. But now we see the T-80BV coming in. It's going to be harassing this infantry, but doesn't want to take too many shots from either the Dragon 2 or the M72 Law, because otherwise what's going to happen is it will lose all of its cohesion, potentially rout and so show side armor, and then get killed off. So the BTR-60PB having a great time here, actually, because within 300 meters, the mechanized rifles can't use their Dragon. So the BTR's just taking full advantage of that right now as the mechanized rifles try and retreat. YukiPaw has, however, managed to get his mech rifles with Law back, though, and that's going to allow him to start engaging these units at close range once again. The mechanized rifles just about getting away with that due to the help from the AH-1F Tow Cobra, but the mechanized rifles of Dragons still trying to run. No time left for that BTR to get the kill, and now the mechanized rifles will also be replenished by the M35, Su-25 coming in. Meanwhile, Gonna go straight over the PVADs and the Stinger. Also got the F-16 coming in quickly, responding. Beautiful reaction times by Yuki there, making sure he gets the F-16 on the field very quickly indeed. Now the T-80BV in a real bad spot as it takes 3 side shots from the M72 Law. Gets killed off. So Per Kiilstofte also lost in that encounter. Mandoz having a really, really bad time in this game 1 of a best of 3. So, great trade so far for YukiPaw as he continues to sit on the +2 in this game. Meanwhile, on the top side, another tow Cobra harassing the T-80 as it tries to push forwards. These T-80s probing without sufficient support is extremely risky. The F-16 in this case didn't actually end up dropping its cluster. Since the T-80BV has already lost a couple of health, this cluster could get the kill in one run potentially, but is struggling to align. Now the MiG-23 MLD coming in, and it's going to be up to the F-16s to take that down, and they do manage to do so even before the AH-1F Cobra gets taken out. That is huge. Another extremely good trade for YukiPaw in this one. Now this mortar going to be able to continually harass the infantry that Mandoz is bringing in to take on the mechanized rifles. Meanwhile, on the top side, the F-16 cluster was actually taken out, but the F-16s ended up strafing the Igla. These Cubs struggling to get shots on target. Now the issue with the Cubs, and the reason you'll see them miss quite a lot, is because they have 45% accuracy, and then that is negatively affected by ECM. So they end up with something like anywhere between like 20 and 30%, especially against a lot of the NATO aircraft that have like 20-30% ECM. So that's why you'll see these Cubs like really not hit too hard quite often. When they do hit with a lot of damage. Like they have 9 HE. So 120mm mortar being used on the top side to actually provide smoke. It looks like that Mandoz is going to try and sneak the T-80BVK into the sector on the top side. This bottom side, I'm not sure that I liked the investment into the T-80BV at close range. Against the mechanized rifles, it can work out okay, because the Law is basically going to do no damage to the T-80BV in the front armor, and the mechanized rifles with dragons can't use their dragon within 300 meters, so the T-80BV can just run them down. The big problem that starts to occur, however, is that at close range, there's going to be situations like this, where the T-80BV comes into line of sight of the mechanized rifles showing side armor, and it's going to happen quite a lot at close range before the T-80BV can sort of move into the correct orientation. So the mechanized rifles still continuing to get the better of infantry on this bottom side, and all the while Yuki has reinforced with more mechanized rifles and is now bringing up more supply to get the mechanized rifles that were damaged replenished. So that's really good by Yuki on the bottom side. On the top side, Mandoz has managed to get the T-80BVK into position. Smoke coming down here to continuously support this. Now the BVK looking to kill off the LRS that will be otherwise spotting the T-80BVK for the rest of the time here. F-16 waiting and ready to pounce. LRS, they used to have an M72 Law, they do not anymore, so they can't really fight back there against the BVK. And that will inevitably get the kill, I imagine. Also, PVAD's going down on this top side. Wild Weasel hanging out. Those Cubs are going to have to be careful. They are currently depleted though, so they do not have their radar turned on. When a radar unit runs out of ammunition, seed missiles don't work anymore. So do bear that in mind. But look at all of these aircraft on the backside. Yuki with the double F-16 AA to provide air superiority, whilst 2 F-16s with cluster munitions are waiting to pounce on any T-80BV caught out in the open and in line of sight. So this is Mandoz kind of playing with fire here, as both of these Cubs are currently completely out of ammunition, and whilst there is a supply vehicle on the way, you can't help but feel like this Euro should have just been used to get those back online so that he could start harassing these F-16s here. On the bottom, Stinger has arrived to help the PVADs, and that's going to make the Mi-24V here less effective. Oh, beautiful side shot though by the M1A1. The T-80 came out onto the road and had its turret blown sky high by that M1A1. The BTR-60 trying to get shots on target. Looks like Mandoz trying to get the Sapodi RPO working. So these RPO, they only have 4 RPO launchers, and after they fire these, the mechanized rifles have the advantage in the gun engagement. So Mandoz really needs to just make sure they keep bringing up supply so they can resupply the RPO launchers of the Sapodi RPO, and every time the mechanized rifles show themselves, there's more napalm going on target. The airstrike on the bottom side didn't quite work out. It is going to force the M1A1 back for the time being, but having killed the T-80, that's kind of done its job, and we'll have plenty of time to get fixed up. Up here, Mandoz didn't leave the T-80 BVK in the sector. This is something that I actually see like newer players do quite often, is you don't need to leave the command in the sector to keep capturing it. So he's reversed that out, and basically he's saying it's your play, Yuki. You need to move your leader in there to capture it back. Or the M3A1 Bradley, they're almost getting a toe to on target of the OSA. That would have been bad, especially with the amount of F-16s that Yuki has invested in throughout this game. But a nice kill on this bottom side, taking out another of those mechanized rifles with Law. Oh no, the OSA did actually end up going down. Second one going down as well to the Seed. Yuki, he saw a chance to pounce on those radar units, and that is the 2 new OSAs that have been brought in already, taken out. Reinforcements coming in on the backside. The M109 managing to get counter battery onto the 120mm. This is really, really tough for Mandoz across the board. You can see that Yuki is trying to smoke his Mutsi P into the sector to capture that back, just like Mandoz did previously. And all the while, Yuki is still sitting on a rather large advantage. F-16 even managing to get a cluster strike onto the T-80 BVK. Can the Cubs hit the mark? They managed to damage it quite severely. That will stop it from coming in for quite a while. So BRDM has actually been managed to get in on this bottom side. Mandoz feeling the pressure a little bit here. Still 20 minutes left on the clock, so got time to work with, but currently I would say Yuki is incredibly ahead on the sort of kills and losses throughout this game, for sure. Seed trying to hit the Eyehawk, but the Eyehawk fired its last missile, so the radar no longer active. The PVADs has been turned off by Mandoz here. Oh, nice find though by the BMP-2. Takes out the leader, meaning Mandoz will full cap this bottom side. The mechanized rifles not having a good time now that the Sapodi RPO are being replenished all the time. Nice thing about having the modifier on target though is it will stop those Sapodi from replenishing. The supply got captured and the M1A1s killed that off. EVAD's also going down to the BMP-2, so a really nice find here from Mandoz getting that BMP-2 round the flank. And I think the reason this has happened is because Yuki has invested so much into his aircraft on the top side here to kind of counter the plays that Mandoz kept trying to make up here, especially with the smoke play into that sector. And whilst Mandoz is still like losing forces across the front, it's given him enough time to push back in on this bottom side, and Yuki's got a long way to go to reinforce this. So it's yeah, he's got time, he's got back in there, and he's managed to cancel out the advantage that Yuki had, at least in terms of points. I think in terms of kills, we're still seeing Yuki pick up plenty of kills with these aircraft, just like that Mi-24 going down. The Sapodi RPO have just been picked off again on this bottom side by the mechanized rifles. So the BVs, they got work to do on the top, but it's going to be hard to do that with a lot of the OSAs already falling throughout this game. And the Cubs, you know, they have to be super careful about any seed coming in. So I have to wait and see if Mandoz can bring this back, because it is really all on him to do so. The TOW 2 managing to find a BMP-2 that's probing in the center. The scouts might also take out the UAZ KPV that is pushing itself forwards. Another Mi-24 on the bottom side is getting rockets onto the mechanized rifles. If they get away on 1 health, that's really something that Mandoz is not going to be happy about. Stinger actually finding the hit on target. Going to force that into a bad position. Oh no, it's actually just come right up on the mechanized rifles here, and because these mechanized rifles have a lot of guns and it got stunned right on top of them, that Mi-24, will it be able to fight back in time? It does have the 30mm, but it gets stunned again. Oh, that's a shame for that Mi-24. Mechanized rifles, I thought there that the Stinger was going to force the Mi-24 back. It would accidentally find the mechanized rifles that were hidden there and then would end up taking them out. But instead, the mechanized rifles finding the stun there did the trick very nicely indeed. Oh, what was that? The A-10 swinging a Maverick into the T-80 just before it could full cap this sector on the top side. That was very cheeky indeed. Now looking for the second T-80BV. The Maverick going off target there. And the A-10 does get taken out by the Cubs. The Cubs finally getting the job done. But this T-80BV in a really strange spot at the moment. Like, it's staying close to the Dragon squad so that the mech rifles don't use that Dragon. But at the same time, it was leaving itself vulnerable to the TOW 2. Thankfully, it has got into cover, so he's okay there. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, the BRDM, it moved back out of the sector here, and it's given chance for Yuki to bring up the mechanized rifle leader. The mechanized rifle leader is really nice because it's like a thick 9-man leader squad. So that's going to be hard to dislodge for sure. Much harder than the Jeep that we saw previously. F-16 does get hit. The second F-16, oh, playing with fire and gets burned as the two Cubs finally hit the mark, but the seed comes in straight after and takes out one of the Cubs in reply. Now the TOW Cobra pushing for the T-80BV. The MiG-23 tried to stop it, but the AA managed to hit the mark and force the MiG-23 back, so the TOW Cobra here has a chance to get the kill, and does indeed. The T-80BV going down on the top side. YukiPaw maintaining a +1 on the bottom. But Mandoz has found some ground in the middle. I like that Mandoz, even with this sort of engagement in the town here, he realizes that's not the strength of his division. He's playing around this more open area on the top side. And he's managing to find these probing attacks into these positions that YukiPaw is like somewhat inadequately defending. And if Mandoz hadn't been losing so much in November throughout this game, I really do feel like, you know, an extra investment into AA earlier on, and also some extra tanks on this top side, would have really just rolled over YukiPaw's defenses already. But Mandoz at least into a good position, enabling his T-80BVK to come in and contest the center of the map. Also managed to pick off an Eyehawk there, so that was really good. On the bottom, YukiPaw is just going to solidify his position once again, and the MiG-27 now coming in for seed attempts once again, but not really any radar AA left. There is like the Eyehawk and PVADs left on the bottom side, I suppose, but on the top, not too much for Mandoz to worry about. The TOW Cobra does take a nice strafing run there. Wild Weasel almost gets an infrared on target. Osa, not good. Oh no, more strikes heading into the Cub as well. Double kill for the Wild Weasels. 2 more radar AA going down. Mandoz really getting light on that AA support, which could leave his T-80s extremely vulnerable. to a future A10. Now the A10 did get shot down, but there's going to be a second available for sure. And yeah, that could certainly clean house if there is not enough adequate AA. Nice kill by the Conkers though, onto the PVADs, got that into a good position. Now the Pulamachiki engaging the mechanized rifles. Pulamachiki are pretty good against engaging other infantry at range usually, because they have like 3 PKMs, but when you're up against mechanized rifles, these massive squads from the 8th Infantry are just so difficult to deal with. And they match you in machine guns whilst also having more M16s, so it's really, really tough. SU-24 going to get taken out. The BRDM that tried to capture the bottom side sector there also killed off in the process. T-80BVK managing to smoke itself off into that sector, pushing Mandoz actually to a +1 as he has full cap to the center and now is capping up here. So Mandoz really trying to make a play for this, trying to keep in this game. But the F-16 coming in there for the cluster strike. Down goes the T-80BVK, and that is going to put Yuki in a very advantageous position as the M1 Abrams CP here is actually just driving straight through up this main road into this backside sector. Just 2 of them riding in together will counteract the X-ray and Lima capture. And meanwhile, Yuki is just waiting for a chance to move forwards this Abrams into one of these 2 sectors. So I think it's got to the point now where we can see the massive disparity in units. You think that YukiPaw, he's got multiple Abrams across the map. He's got 2 leader Abrams, whilst Mandoz has no tanks left on the entire map, other than this one T-80BV that's just come in. And the kills and losses have certainly been ramping up throughout this game, and it's very apparent now. EMP-2s actually have a decent chance of overwhelming the M1 Abrams here with their Conkers missiles if they can stay on target long enough. Oh, strafing run actually coming in there from the MiG-27 helps the Conkers find the kill. F-16s do take that MiG-27 down nice and easy, but here comes the A-10. That's waiting to pounce. YukiPaw's now fully controlling the top once again, and will also just be able to drive down to the middle here to capture that back. Yuki's in a very, very nice spot, and has been for the majority of this game, I would say. He's been the one in control, managed to stop Mandoz's attempts to push on this top side for the most part. It feels like every time that Mandoz has taken this objective, he hasn't really had control over it. He's just used smoke to get in there. And therefore, it's kind of left him in a bit of a dodgy position for the rest of the match. But here comes the A-10, looking for the T-80 potentially, since he lost line of sight on the BMP-2s. Oh, that Abrams just got hit hard. F-16 forced out. Weasel coming overhead to try and find more radar AA, but all the radar AA is gone. The TOW-T here having a great time firing up towards the BMP-2s, and now comes the A-10 once again for a glorious victory run. Takes out both the BMP-2 and the T-80BV. MUT-CP capturing the back sector. F-16 shooting down another MiG. This has been an absolute slaughter throughout this game. YukiPaw playing this fantastically. I've been very, very impressed with YukiPaw's airplay. Fantastic reactions, particularly on the F-16s. Anytime an airstrike's come in from Mandoz, he's immediately had F-16s in the air. T-80BV might catch out one of the Abrams on the top side, but the leader's going to get in there regardless. And we're looking now at a +5, soon to be a +6, as that Abrams will smoke itself off, giving it plenty of time to capture that. A-10 still hanging around as well, still got a Maverick missile up its sleeve, ready to take out that tank. But now Mandoz, surely, from his perspective, 2 tanks, Motostrelki, Igla. I know there's money on the line, but it's going to need a miracle to come back from that. Su-25 trying to hover around, maybe find a kill onto the Abrams. T-80 at least manages to get one back. Mechanized rifles of Dragons go down to the Motostrelki. M109 gonna start engaging the Motostrelki here, and the T-80 does actually manage to kill the M1 Abrams command, but it's going very, very fast into his opponent. The Su-25 finds a free supply kill on the backside. The T-80 BVK does manage to smoke itself off and not get killed by the M1A1 at least. But with 2 minutes left until Yuki's victory, Yuki certainly has this in the bag. What a fantastic first game. The Dragon 2 finding its shot on target there. And that right there is the sight that we've been seeing for the majority of the game. These infantry squads really just getting the job done on the bottom side. F-16s getting the job done in the sky. And there we have it. Yuki with the victory. After 32 minutes and 50 seconds, a 1.91 KD. As expected, 9,445 kills to 4,945 losses. That means he had basically 4,500 points more on the map than Mandoz did at the end of that game, which is huge in a 1v1. Absolutely massive, in fact. Those F-16s really, really coming out to play and shooting down multiple aircraft. Andrew, just 5 kills. M1A1 doing alright. The mechanized rifles on the bottom side held that position for so long. And some pretty big mistakes on the side of Mandoz to allow a lot of that sort of armored units that he brought in to support that bottom side engagement get too close. So many kills here for YukiPaw throughout that one. That being said, I think Mandoz, he played the overall game pretty well in that he tried to counterattack in the areas where his division benefited the most. It's just YukiPaw had the counter to play against it, and it's much more difficult to push across the open than it is through the town at the end of the day. So Mandoz, I feel like his division choice here did put him in a little bit of a sticky situation in this matchup. But that being said, a fantastic first game between these two. In the next game, we'll have to see if Mandoz can bring one back in this best of 3 in the semi-final of the WARNO League Super Tournament for WARNO 1.0. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.